Well, isn't it ironic? The other day I was mentioning about this end cover, the one I'd repaired, and guess what turned up today? A box of bits, an LT230 transfer rebuild kit, because I use mine, so you just replace mine, and an end cover, you know, for the hold the bearings in. I just wanted to show you that's the little retaining ring that's in there that I made, well JP made, but my idea. But you can see now that bearing is nicely firmly in place there, and maybe you can see it's just a flush fit ring. We'll get some made up. But what I was going to say was this box has been in bits for months and months and months, and it arrived in bits for months and months and months, and I was putting this bit together, you know, the selector, because we've got a new first and second one here because the other one was one. And for the life of me, I'm going, what the hell's going wrong here? Couldn't put it back together. In fact, so much so, I had to go and look at one of my videos to see what the hell I was doing wrong. What had happened was something kind of simple. This is the reverse and fifth synchro, and somebody had slipped it onto the shaft here. And of course, when I took it all to bits, I thought, oh, that's the selector. I couldn't get it back together. Hey, good job I made a video of it, innit? Anyway, there was 97, I've got 97 R380 videos. So, I'm only going to do little bits and pieces. But today I'm going to do some shimming. We've done that before. But, you know, like I said, we've got all the bits prepped up. These are all done. The dowels are a nice fit. So it should be kind of an easy job. I've got the gears all built up here. Somebody's going to ask me about putting these back together, but they're actually very, very straightforward. There's nothing really much to know. Is there anything to look out for? Well, yeah, really. Obviously the gaps between the synchro rings are very important, but again we put new synchro rings in, new bearings. Just be careful this bit doesn't pop off, alright? This fourth and third synchro, because it's got a liability of jumping off. But apart from that, because you see what I normally do when I take a box apart, if I'm going to take a box apart, I just leave it as a big unit here, because all we can do is just check bits and pieces and the synchros and stuff like that. But I'm really concerned about the splines in the shaft, whether it needs a new shaft or not. The internal bearings and stuff like that are there, they never go. I think it's the only thing that doesn't go actually. Also checking out the lay shaft, make sure that spline's nice and free, you know, slide the gear on, and make sure that these aren't cracked. Well, there's not much you can do about them being cracked really, because they either are cracked or they fall off, or they're not cracked. But we cleaned them all the bits up, so it's time to put them back together again. So I'm going to do the shimming, and I'll show you very quickly how we do it, well, how I do it, and then you can take it from there. And like I said, this series just is really about some hints and tips really, and problem solving. And we know about the dowels and things like that. But I've got the casing down here. I sandblasted and painted this again because it was silver before, and put it back to black, like Amy Winehouse. Anyway, one of the things you've got to be super careful with is, if you've been sandblasting these, down here, see down here, there's a hole down there, and that hole is where that shaft goes in there. Now, it's really super important to make sure that that hasn't got any sand or debris in it. There is a hole at the bottom to let oil in and out, but it has been known to get sand or any crap inside there, and once you do that, that shaft will be hard to go in, and it won't turn. That means you've got to strip it all down again, so everything has to be really clean. That's just a little tip. But like I say, you can't get it clean enough. This is a bit of a special job. Look at this. Brand new bolts. Brand fire new. I put a little bit of Loctite on, a bit of blue stuff. put a bit of high-low sill on here. Could only get white. And again, when I was saying earlier about cleaning out everything, clean the threads out as well, because if you've got dirt in these threads, it's going to push it through into the casing. Sometimes wise to put a little tap down them. 25 Newton meters, eh? Always diagonally opposite. After a period of time, you get to know how to tighten them up without using a torque wrench. I mean, you don't want to put like £500 on them. Now, as this sealer squidges out, we know it's sealed, but you can go around it with like a toothpick or something like that, or a stick, and then it'll come out. So that's now ready to go onto our stand, and we can mess about doing the shimming. Now, good idea now, take this cap off and put the end cap on while it's still soft. Tighten it down to stop air getting into it. Back in a bit. Still too tall. What the heck's going on here? This is odd. Why is it too tall? Well, I had a bit of a harassment putting this box together. What it seems to be is that when I pushed the bearing in here, I hadn't pushed it down deep enough. The socket I had, or not the socket but the bush I had, wasn't the usual one, and it had a little shoulder on it which was hitting the shoulder here, pushing the bearing down, but not quite completely. So now we put this in and put the main shaft in. We should. And we don't need a synchro gear, you know, like a synchro ring on. Ooh. Now we're using the original shim, original sin, and there. That is nice. Push the dowels in. It just goes to show you that you've got to double check all these little bits and pieces. You know, I'll show you the bit I was talking about. That's the tool I used. You see, it's got a shoulder on, but it wasn't deep enough. I must have made it for something else. I don't know what the hell it is. Anyway, I used a socket and pushed it on. So now what I'm going to do is going to put some bolts in. I've got the dowels in. Put some bolts in, and we'll see what that feels like. Feels lovely so far. So, I've put some Allen bolts in here, cap bolts, down in these holes down here. The reason for that is that if you want to put your gauge on, you can, it's all nice and flush now. That's tightened down, that feels lovely. We look at our shaft down here, there's no play on that at all. It's just lovely, it's really nice. So just make sure all the bearings are pushed down. That's a rookie mistake to make. I should have sorted that out earlier, but it seemed to be alright to me. Anyway, we sorted it out. But that feels really nice. So the next thing we do is stick it all to bits again. And then we put the lay shaft in. What's this? You ever had one of them days where you wish you never got out of bed? So we've done the main shaft. That's nice. And I just put the lay shaft in and listen. Well, the bearing's on, but it seems to me those new bolts are too long. Let's take them out. Longer bolts. Oh well, well, so let's just temporarily put these short ones in. Oh yeah, they're better. Well, I don't know about these. I don't know about these newfangled bolts. I'll just put them in for now to see if it's going to cure the problem. Might do. I hope so. Otherwise, I had some bolts. You see, what I do is I sandblast and paint the bolts with zinc plate. Zinc paint. These are the dog's teeth. Zinc paint. Oh. That's better. And some on here. Now you may be wondering why I usually use ATF, but I've changed my mind now, because when I do these gearboxes I run them up on my test bench and I fill them full of oil and then I flush them out and change the oil, so it doesn't really matter. This is just engine oil. Same job, isn't it? It's a bit tight. It's not bad, but it's a bit tight. Mind you, not too bad, but a bit tight. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. See, we had a problem pressing bearings on. I'm going to repress these bearings back on, try it again. I push the bearings back on and it's still the same. It's a bit tight, just a little bit. So I think of it a tenth of a millimetre or something like that. So I'm going to take it out, measure the shim and put something in a little bit thinner. So the original shim size was 2.16 millimetres. I have a box full of shims here, so we're going to have a look at these and see if we get one a bit thinner. 216. What's the chances of that? Exactly the same. Sometimes you do find they are the same. Ooh, 2.07. That's a contender. 265. You're out. I found that when they just don't want to be too tight because they'll run hot. But they don't want to be slack because they'll be noisy and banging around. Better. A lot better. Ah, like that. Ooh. Lovely. So you can turn it with your fingers like that. They will bed in. Remember that. That's a lot better. Yeah. Now in the book it says there should be, what was it, 1/1000 of an inch or something like that. If you've ever tried it with a dial gauge, you'll find out it's kind of difficult to do because you're on and off and on and off. And that's why sometimes these shim kits from Ashcroft's are good. You know, these little shim kits here, because you can get little discrepancy ones, but sometimes I keep old ones and that's really nice. So when we get those two together there's going to be no play on that. But like I say, they will bed in. Allow them to bed in. They are new bearings. They don't want to be spinning around like a merry-go-round. They just want that little bit of resistance. Right, I'm going to go because somebody's bungling around upstairs and I wonder what it is. I think it's my cat. Right, now it's a time to assemble this bad boy. We've done this time and time again, but never mind. I've got the spring in here with the ball. I've got a dummy shaft here that will push through with a bit of luck. Down here I've got the gear cluster, the main shaft. This pin here must be at 90 degrees to the shaft, that way, not that way, 90 degrees. You can see I put a hose clip around there. All will become clear because the last thing you want is this shaft to pop off, you know, this selector to pop off. So now we're going to try and put it into here without any tears. It'll probably all go wrong. Knowing my heart. How easy was that? And now we've got to somehow get this into here. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that, eh? Oh, there we go. Now we can undo the hose clip and don't move anything. Might have to just wiggle that. Oh, I better put the synchro ring in here before I forget. Now that has to go there, like that. Then we get a bit of wheel. Can't have enough oil. You can see I've got some gasket sealer on there. Ta-da! That was easy enough, wasn't it? A lot of people get stuck with that. The hose clip holding this together makes a tremendous difference, because if this pops off as you're pushing this in, you have to take the whole shaft apart to get it back together again. So let's go and get the cover and we'll drop it on. See what a mess we can make of this. Got out the king. Now what we're doing now is trying to line up this shaft here, like that. God, you know, I love it when the plan comes together, don't you? I wish I was shorter though. My wish is true. Right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to put some bolts in to hold this together. One bolt in. That's it, so it doesn't come out. Then we can move it across just a little bit to get some of the bolts. There we go. There! That will... I never like that impact. So now I'm going to take this off, flip it upside down. Without giving myself a hernia. I've only got 2 bolts in, but let's see how it goes. Well, I've got the box down here, and I thought it's a fine time to put this little keeper in the top of here that holds your selector ring in, like a ring thing. 2 bolts and a special thing, and it is not in the box. Well, this is turning really nice, but I don't turn it too much because that little plate is missing. I haven't got one. I've looked all over, I haven't got a spare. It's not the sort of thing you need a spare for anyway. Well, that's buggered that job up then. Now what am I going to do? Well, we'll have to think of something pretty damn quick, because I can't do anything else without that piece in. I can't disturb anything. I'm going to put some more bolts in the back, just nip them down to hold the sealer in. That's all I can do. It's a problem when somebody else takes something to bits, isn't it? You know. I can put the spring and the detent in there. Well, I've got to make sure they're there actually. Ah, dear. What a life, isn't it? Torx. Right, back to the egg, drawing board or whatever. There. Yeah, I don't set anything moving until we get that keeper plate in, because if you start to move this selector shaft, can go out of mesh, and it's just in the right place at the moment. I wonder if Ralph's got one in Scotland. I'll get in touch with Ralph